This video is proudly sponsored by Gamersgate. Download games anytime, anywhere. Visit Gamersgate.com.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Elder Geeks Game Club. This is episode number 31, and we're talking about Dear Esther. My name is Steve, and with me, as always, is my buddy Phil. Phil, how are you doing this evening?
Very good, very good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, thank you, man.
Yeah.
I like when you ask me back. That's nice. Thanks.
I try to be polite.
I appreciate it. And in the background, you can hear him laughing there, is Mr. Randy. Randy, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thanks, man. I love that. I love that every week. Phil is with you as always, as though he's even with you when you go into the restroom.
Yes.
Like, just going to refresh your coffee.
I am in there.
There's Phil. He's right here.
Actually, I tap his tip for him when he's done in the restroom.
Oh God!
always take a spotter, guys, for all you people listening at home.
I don't want him to get his hands
for our
dirty.
podcast.
You know, I don't want him to get his hands dirty. I'll do it for him.
You fall into those kind of vocal rhythms when you're doing like an intro kind of thing, and Phil's with me as always, and I don't know, it's just, I've been saying it for 31 episodes now, so I might as well keep going.
I like it. I like it. He's there in case, you know, you run out of sugar for your coffee. Phil's there as always, and he's got extra sugar for you.
I do. See, you said a good. That's nice what you said. I'm getting sugar. The thing I come up with for myself is terrible.
Well, if this is the first time you're joining us for the game club, the way it works is this: the three of us will decide on a game, and we'll play it over a couple of weeks, and then we get together and we have this discussion about it as a podcast. It's kind of a book club format where we just kind of give our thoughts and our things we liked, things we didn't like. We kind of dissect the game a little bit. It's not really meant to be a formal review by any stretch of the imagination. It is what it is. This time around, like I mentioned, we played the game Dear Esther, and I'll give you a little background on that game right now. Dear Esther is a first-person narrated interactive experience. It's set in a 3D world. Just get this out of the way early in the show. I'm just going to call this a game. We'll probably at some point we'll probably debate the ins and outs of how much of a game it is.
The gaminess of it.
The gaminess of the game, but for the sake of just not having to say what I just said, which is narrated interactive experience in a 3D world, I'm going to just call it a game and stick with that, so bear with me. It was developed by the Chinese Room, which is made up of Dan Pinchbeck and Jessica Curry. Those are the two kind of principals of the company, as I understand it. And it was first released in 2008. It was a Half-Life 2 mod built on the Source engine. While they were attending the University of Portsmouth in England, they developed a bunch of mods using Source, and they were student projects, and this was one of them. And then what happened was they received a grant from the Arts and Humanities Research Council to convert it into a full standalone game. So they teamed up, and I couldn't find really any information on how this happened, but Robert Briscoe, who was a former DICE employee, joined up with them, and he did all the level design for the game. I guess I don't know if he's officially part of the Chinese Room, or if he just kind of was working with them, but so he did all the level design, and then a guy named Ben Andrews had done a bunch of concept art, which this was then based on. And I'm not sure how far through the project, but they exhausted their budget, and they turned to something called the Indie Fund to get the rest of the money, so they could complete the project.
This was before the days of Kickstarter. No.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, well, it was 2009 when they started.
Well, yeah.
2009 to 2011 was while they were developing the standalone version of the game. So yeah, I guess it kind of. I think Kickstarter was around, but I don't think it was quite as common.
Yeah.
Because I remember hearing about it like a few years ago, being used for film projects and stuff.
Right.
So anyway, the Indie Fun people, they were a little skeptical at first, just kind of being told the premise of this game, and then they started kind of playing it and actually, seeing it, and then they were sold on it, and they funded the rest of it. So the game got made. It was released on Steam in February of 2012, and so within 6 hours of it being released, the game sold 16,000 units, and they right there were able to repay the $55,000 loan they had gotten from the Indie Fund. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I thought that
good.
pretty much paid for itself right away. And then after a week, that was 6 hours.
Right.
And then a week later, they had sold 50,000 copies. So it did quite well. I believe it launched at, was it $10 or $14.99? I don't remember. It was, I think it might have been $14.99 initially, but then I think it's down to $10 now. As of July 18, 2012, the game had sold 250,000 copies via Steam, and that was largely due to being part of the summer sale.
Which was, what was it then, like $3?
Probably like $2.50.
It was
or something
$2.49,
crazy.
and then the version I got was, I think, $3 something, just under $4, and that included the soundtrack.
Okay.
So the soundtrack is, well, I'll get to that in a moment. The game was narrated by voice actor Nigel Carrington, and the soundtrack was written and performed by Jessica Curry, who's one of the principals of the Chinese Room. The soundtrack had been released for free originally when the game was done as a mod, and then when they did the full version, it was put up on Bandcamp and Amazon and iTunes, I think. So it's also out on Spotify, so if you have Spotify, you can check it out on there as well. It's quite good, quite good. It got mostly positive reviews, though many debate whether or not to calling it a game is fair, and again, we can talk about that in a little bit. And it won the Excellence in Visual Arts Award at the 2012 Independent Games Festival. And then, as a result of its success, the Chinese Room, they also developed a game, I don't know how to say it, Korsacovia, which is a survival horror Half-Life 2 mod. Seems kind of similar. And then through that as well, they have now been picked up to develop the sequel to Amnesia. They're developing Amnesia, A Machine for Pigs, which is due out sometime in 2013. They're also developing a game called Everybody's Gone to Rapture, which is kind of seems to be like a spiritual successor to Dear Esther, in that it's presented the same way.
Okay.
But the difference with this one is that there's going to be a lot more interaction with the environment. And there's also going to be other characters in the game that you'll also interact with to kind of have the story reveal itself to you as you go through and interact with these people. So
that one's actually going to be a game.
Well, I mean, it's going to be it's going to be very similar to Dear Esther. So, but you're going to be able to click on things.
I wish you could have saw my troll smirk.
Well, with that, so I'm really looking forward to Everybody's Gone to Rapture. I read a little bit about it. I didn't play the first Amnesia. This game has kind of made me want to play the first Amnesia just so I have a bit of a setup for this new one, because now I really want to see what they're doing with A Machine for Pigs. Because, well, let's get into our thoughts on the game, because that's kind of where we should go.
Yeah.
Steve, who's going first?
Well, I just read a whole bunch of stuff, so
Yeah,
why don't one of you guys
Steve,
go
Steve
first?
should take a break.
That's what I'm saying. I think he should call. Who goes first?
Well, all right.
I'm going to have... I want Phil to go first, because I want what Phil says to get Randy worked up.
You know, I don't have too much to say about the game. It's hard. First off, when you talk about it was really $15 when it came out. I mean, $15 for that to me is it's almost like a crime. But I don't know. I don't really. I've been trying to sort my thoughts out on this game for the last few days. I played through it one time. It took me about an hour and 15 minutes. So, I knew going into this game that you're literally just walking, and it's a virtual tour, basically, and I guess it splits off, and some people will have slightly different experiences if they go different ways. So I had my experience, and by the end, I didn't want to have another experience. I didn't want to go see what else had to be said about the story. So, all right. So, this game, what it's presenting to me as the player, is a story. And the story, you know, I understand stuff is up for interpretation, but by the end of it, I was just like, well, maybe I'm stupid or something. But I just thought, well, I don't really know what happened. And I didn't feel any kind of connection with. I mean, we're gonna spoil it. At the end, your dude jumps off a tower and he turns into a fucking bird. No, I know. And then you fly away. So, you know, as the story goes on. And Randy, you can jump in and correct me on any story bits that I get wrong, or Steve.
No, go. I'm gonna toss in my 2 cents when you're
But
done.
before you go too much further, I just want to fact check. It was released at $9.99. I'm sorry,
Okay.
I was wrong about that. It was never $14.99. I just looked that up real quick. But proceed.
Still a lot of money, but all right. So you know, I'm the bird. So I win the game, and I'm like, all right, well, what happened? So now I'm trying to piece it together. I'm like, okay, I guess I must have died maybe in this car accident, and maybe I'm traveling through my life right now, and then at the end, I finally go up to heaven. I'm the bird. And then I said something to Steve, and Steve was like, well, I didn't take it as you were dead in the car accident. I took it as you thought his dog. Oh, no. I knew he did not die. I said to Steve, I wasn't sure how your guy was dead, but Steve said, well, I assumed it was his daughter that died in the car accident. And then I said, well, I thought maybe it was his wife. But then it's like, well, maybe I don't know, man. The story was a little, I just feel like I didn't get anything out of it. Like, you know, I'm trying to piece something together here, which I understand, and that's cool. And I think, you know, certain things should be up for interpretation, but it's so, like, vague, and they're throwing these character names around, and it's just, I don't know. Maybe, like I said, maybe I'm an idiot or something, and it just went over my head. But, you know, for this game, for this story to be, I mean, this is it. This is what you are paying for this story. I don't know. I didn't really get anything out of it. Now, I guess you could say, you know, you pay for like a book of poems, and you get a poem or whatever, and you take away whatever you want from it, and you go, that was a beautiful poem, you know? And it's different for everybody. I guess maybe the game is kind of maybe being presented in that kind of way, you know what I mean? But you know, I guess, I don't know, maybe I guess it just wasn't my thing. You know, I think it looked good. It's a good mod. Like, graphically it looked good. It obviously scaled pretty well. I played it on a lower end machine, and it still looked good and it ran good. But I don't know. I understand why it doesn't follow video game conventions. Like, you know, there's no puzzles in it because they don't want to hold up the pacing, and they want people to get through this thing as they walk around, and they don't want anyone to get stopped, and they don't want to introduce like why is there going to be bad guys, you know? So there's not. I understand why these things don't exist. I guess, you know, is this an interesting way to tell a story in this medium? I mean, I guess so.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when I think of it like that, I mean, I don't really know. I can't think of any other way. I mean, I guess there's other ways you could present this story,
like
but
a choose your own adventure book.
But like the experience you have in this story, in this world, and the way you go through it. I mean, at the end of it, I felt like, wow, like I can't imagine having that story told to me any other way.
Right.
But that was my feeling on it was that the way it's presented. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but.
No, I mean, and my big takeaway, and like I know a lot of people like this game, and you know, they're just like, oh, it's so great, so great. And like my takeaway with that attitude is just like I feel, and you know, this is like my big thought here. I feel that people are so desperate for video games to become something more than what they are, that they are accepting anything that's a little more mature as like this is great, you know what I mean? So I don't know if I care for that mentality anymore. I used to be on board with that on that train. I used to want, video games to be something more than what they are. But then at some point in my life, I realized, well, I kind of like video games the way they are, and I like them to be dumb things where I'm blowing something up or punching somebody in the face. Now, I'm not saying video games can't be more than that. I think they can be. Maybe that's just not meant for me as a player, as somebody that just wants to play games.
Well, and I think that kind of comes to the discussion as to whether or not you consider this to really be a game or not. I mean,
it's a game. I mean, you push buttons and there's a beginning and an end.
Yeah, but what's the consequence? I mean, I killed myself
I
twice
died.
just to see what happened. I jumped off a cliff to see what would happen, and then I drowned myself to see what would happen. And
I don't know. You could get lost.
No.
If you handed that game to someone that never played a game before, they could probably get lost.
I suppose.
You
guess.
can't die in Prince of Persia games.
That's true. However, I mean, really, I guess really the only consequence for not performing well in Dear Esther is that you're not going to get to the end and find out.
Right. You can't die in Epic Kirby. Or Kirby
Same thing with Prince of Persia. The only consequence of dying is not finding out how
you do get achievements in Prince of Persia though if you get all those if you get those little glowing balls. So that's something. I guess.
That's only the new Prince. That's only Prince of Persia 2008 that you can't die in. You can die in the other ones.
No, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
you can die in the old one.
I'm just kidding.
In the first one, you could die a lot, actually.
Yeah, so you do die a lot. Yeah.
So Randy,
I'm sorry. I just played Kirby Epic Yarn. You can't die in that. You just lose points.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't die in Star Wars Lego games or any Lego games.
No,
really.
you can't
just
die
blow
in
up
those.
and bits fly everywhere.
You lose
All
points.
All right, you make
But
Go ahead, Randy.
we make a point.
No, you make a good point. I mean, that's a good counter. I don't really know what to say to that. I mean, I feel like it's still a little different with this experience than that. This is.
I still think it's a video game. I mean, it's a video game.
I feel like it's like it's more like watching a movie or something like that. Only the difference is that you're actually in it and you're able to kind of control yourself moving through it and the pace at which the story is presented to you by the way you move. I don't feel like like if you're playing Kirby, there's still like a reason to jump around and collect shit and kill enemies and do stuff, and that makes that a game. Whereas I don't know. I don't think of this as being a game. I feel like this is an experience. It's a story that uses a game engine to present itself in a way that, stories aren't usually told. And I like it. And don't get me wrong. I'm not. I haven't really given my full opinion, and I don't mean to be cutting in on Randy. But I mean, I loved this. I loved Dear Esther. I thought it was awesome. I just had a great experience with it. But I don't really feel as though it can be considered a true video game.
Well, here's the thing about I was thinking about this the other day too. Thinking about is this what's a true video game? I started thinking about things that were passed off as video games that maybe you wouldn't consider video games. And I wish I looked up I forget what old system it is. But there was this old video game system where when you hooked it up to the TV, I think the Angry Video Game Nerd actually did an episode on it. You hook it up to the TV and it's literally just a light. And you have this freaking knob, and you just turn the knob, and the light just flips all over the place. And the different games are you literally overlay a piece of paper on your TV, and the light shows through, and then you move the light through like some maze or something like that. And it's like, well, you're not like, is that a video game? There's no, you know what I mean? Like there's nothing video game-ish happening, but they pass it off as a video game, and I don't know. It's a video game. You're still controlling something, There's no consequences. I could make the light go out of the maze if I wanted to. Or, you know what I mean? This is probably a bad example, but I was just trying to think of things that people passed off as games. There was another thing. I had this game. I didn't actually have the game system itself, but there was another game system called Action Max, and I had a couple of the VHSs that went with it, which I wish I didn't get rid of, because they're kind of cool collector's items. So the Action Max is basically a light gun machine, and you put VHS movies in. Those are the video games, and there's something in the machine or whatever that when shit's flying around on the screen, they have like balls on them, like dark spots, and you shoot the gun at the screen, and you will get points, but that will not alter anything that's going on. There's like zero interactivity. And that's a video game, and nothing is happening.
That one.
Well, I mean, you get points though. So
you get points, but like, I mean, you're not doing anything. You're not.
I mean, but
You know?
so what's the objective of Dear Esther then?
The objective of Dear Esther is they show you the objective the minute you start. They show you that tower, and you're like, well, I got to get up that tower.
Okay.
I got to get it. So that was my thought. I was like, I got to get to that. I wasn't sure that was where the game was going to end, but they showed me the tower. I thought, well, I want to go to the tower.
Randy,
And then as I got closer, I was like, well, the game's definitely ending with the tower.
go ahead, Randy. You got something to say?
Oh, I got lots to say. Kind of going back on the whole like point about where you're talking about, well, you could get points. I remember even back when I was a kid, there would be a lot of, schoolyard arguments over what would be constituted as a video game based on whether or not the game gave you points. The Legend of Zelda didn't give you points, and you also kind of continually go back in and play from where you started before. And I remember there were a lot of kids that were pissed off at that back then, saying that Legend of Zelda wasn't a video game because there were no points, there was no, like, you did it in multiple sittings, and the same thing went with, like, Dragon Warrior. So the whole points concept we've kind of filtered out of our system probably in the mid-'80s, even early 90s, as like a prerequisite for what kind of constituted for a game. God, where the hell was I going to go from there? There was something else I wanted to counter as well. Shit. I'll just sit here and swear for a while.
I mean, I know what you're saying. I see that point, but at the same time, there's kind of become a resurgence in that every game system now, and every game, most of the games within them themselves have achievement systems and trophies and stuff like that. So I feel like points are still something that people care about, just in a different way.
I care about points.
Have you played the game Journey?
I have, yes, yeah.
What is the difference between Journey and Dear Esther, aside from light platforming within Journey and this? You can't die in Journey.
No. I agree with you. Actually, I thought about Journey quite a bit as I was playing this. So I think that's a fair comparison. I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is. I mean, I don't know. Playing Journey, I don't know how much I considered that to be a real full game experience. Really, any of the games that those guys make, I kind of have gone back and forth in my head as to how much of a game I actually consider them to be and how much I just consider them to be an interactive experience that also tells a story. And that's kind of how I feel about Dear Esther as well.
I would definitely consider them as a game, but I think it's because of the really shitty semantic choice that we decided to create everything and call everything video games. Mm-hmm. Everything that is a digital interactive experience is called a video game, and we have this notion in our head that the word game equals fun, equals points or objectives, or equals overcoming some type of obstacle to get from point A to B. Mm-hmm. And in order for like the genre of video games needs to work, we need to like kind of stop thinking of it like that way. It's almost like, think of like sports. There's plenty of sports that you could probably see on ESPN or ESPN2 that probably aren't athletic events at all. Poker, pool, bowling, and all that kind of crap. But they're still considered as sports to a lot of people. I mean, sure, some people could debate whether or not they should be shown on ESPN, but the reality is they are.
I don't consider them sports.
Okay, but there are plenty of people that do.
I know.
And you're not an athlete when you play poker?
No, and you're not an athlete when you play golf either. Golf's a
and
game.
you're not an athlete when you're involved in esports either. So there's that whole argument
You'll get no argument from me there. So
there's no athletic competition, yet we call it an e-sport.
No, I think, well, and that's a whole other topic. But yeah, I mean, I think that there's definitely you have to differentiate sports from games.
Right, but I think that we're just we have this problem of kind of getting hung up on semantics. I think it is still definitely a video game. Is it a game? No. Mm-hmm. Like, is it a toy type game? No, it's not. But it is still a digital interactive experience, and therefore it should be kind of tossed under the video game umbrella. Just like if you were to read a book of poetry, it's not the same as reading a fictional novel or reading or reading anything by Michael Crichton or something.
Right. No, look, but I absolutely agree that it's under the same umbrella. I just feel like it's way, way, way on the outside of the umbrella. Like it's got half its shoulder out in the rain and like a foot in the puddle.
I don't. I actually think that it's all still part of the same thing. It's just that the easiest thing for video games to be doing with themselves is to kind of create these objective-based games, to kind of scratch one of two itches, to either be a skill-based kind of thing or a bloodlust kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean that in the very literal
No.
shoot, kill people, but I mean like the overcome challenge to get to point B kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the narrow focus that we've been going with video games so far. And that's kind of like if we only made Michael Bay movies in the film industry, but we never ever bothered to create romance movies or the buddy comedies or anything else. Like we've pretty much only done like 2 genres of video games.
Mm-hmm.
And here are companies like the Chinese Room and I would say Tale of Tales and that game company who are making games that are outside of these norm genres, and I think they're doing a good job. Are they going to be awesome? Like, are we going to look back on them and be like, oh, that was the most surreal experience of my entire life? No, but at least they're trying, and I think that they're succeeding pretty well. Yeah, I think that's really all I want to kind of say about that. I think that we need to stop arguing as to whether or not it is a video game. It is a video game.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not of the same type of genre that we've been used to playing for the past 30 years. That's really that.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough.
Well, what do you
but
think
I mean,
of the game?
I mean, I loved it. I absolutely, I had a really, really great experience. I mean, I found it to be, it's rare for something like this to kind of like affect me as I'm playing it. I disagree completely about the story. I mean, I think that the story was great. I think it was told in little nuggets, and as you kind of go through the world and explore, I just love the way it. And again, spoilers, guys. We're just going to be going all out. So if you haven't tuned out yet and you don't want to be spoiled, that's my last warning. It starts out and you're on this island and you don't know what's going on. This guy's just kind of like, it starts out real vague. He's just talking to this Esther. You don't know who that is. You're seeing things around. You start seeing books about chemistry. You start seeing cans of paint, just random things in the world. And then as you kind of progress through, you start seeing his artwork that he's been doing while he's been on this island. And I thought it was a really great progression all the way through. And as it went, I found myself just being more and more compelled to keep going because I wanted to see where this thing was headed. I felt as though that, the story, while it was kind of given out in dribs and drabs, I think I pieced together enough where I kind of had my feeling on what it was about. And I don't know if that's right at all.
Well, tell me what you thought it was about.
I thought, okay, so at first I thought it might have been
Let's compare notes. See, it's the book club.
I'm not sure what this guy's relationship was to Esther. I don't know.
I took it as wife. I took it as
wife or daughter. I wasn't sure. I started leaning towards wife, though, after a little bit. There's a really, really great thread, by the way, about the story discussion, breaking it all down on the Steam forums, and I'll be sure to put a copy of that in the show notes, and maybe, Randy, if you want to throw it in the YouTube comments in that description area as well. I think it's worth reading if you've played this game. They've really done a lot of kind of dissecting things as far as the story goes. So I took it as he was related to her either. It might have been wife or spouse is kind of where I was leaning towards, because he says things about how, like, when he met her mother, and then and he talked to her mother about the day she was born and everything, and that kind of the way he spoke about her at that point, I thought maybe he was her father, but then he said something like, and then when I finally met you, so that to me is what made me then think that he was probably her spouse. Also, he said something about mailing letters home to their home and wondering if they were just piled up on the porch at this point. So yeah, I kind of got on board with the idea of it being his spouse. So this guy it's just this guy, and he's gone to this island for whatever reason, and he's just been like living there like a hermit, basically, and he's been just completely gone insane. Obviously, he's lost his mind with grief. It's unclear as to what happened exactly. There was a car accident involving this other guy named Paul. it may or may not have been a drinking and driving
Right,
accident.
that's the other thing. You don't even know if it was...
The
you don't even
the
know
main
if it was
character
a-
may or may not have been in the car with her when the accident happened, but ultimately what
Right.
happened was Esther was killed in this car accident. And
Right.
he kind of starts talking about these other characters. He stole a book from a library that he read by a guy named Donnelly. Later in the story, he then starts calling Esther Donnelly, which makes you wonder if this character's last name is also Donnelly, and then maybe he's been just found that book because it had the same last name, and then started projecting himself into this writer, and he thought of this writer as someone who was his friend that he was having conversations with, but really he was probably just reading the guy's book and being insane. Then there was Jakobsen. Is that how you said it? It was spelled Jacobson, but I believe he pronounced it Jakobsen, who was this guy who had lived on the island. He was a sheep herder. It seemed like at one point this island had been like a leper colony or something, and people had been diseased living there. I don't know about that. That's just kind of what I interpreted. And again, I feel like a lot of the story is open for interpretation. And that's what I really liked about it. That again, yeah, I agree with you completely. That's what I liked about it too. I liked that at the end I felt like I had this experience. Like I said, it was very moving, especially towards the end as he kind of he's reaching his goal, and which is to throw himself off this tower. Whatever happens after that with the bird, I mean that could all just be metaphorical, stuff.
Which I'm sure it is.
Right.
When I said he turned into a bird.
No. But I mean, there's also the no. But you made a good point. Like, there's also a possibility maybe he's already dead, and this is just some sort of like purgatory or something. So then,
right.
That's more of what I took it as, by the way, was that he was already dead.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it could go either way. Really, it could be either one.
And I kind of took all the stuff he was seeing as almost like flashes of his life, but like decrepit versions of things in his life. Maybe that was his house at one point. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean, that one scene when you fall into the water and then you're just there at the car accident.
Right.
I thought was. I mean that.
Which, by the way, I played through it twice and I did not get the car accident twice.
Oh, really?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's
one time I
cool.
actually got an operating table and no car accident.
And what happens at the operating table?
It's the same thing. Like, nothing really happens while you're actually with the car accident either. You
Right.
just kind of...
Right,
I remember
that's
I was
true.
like looking through the cars to see if I could see anything, but one time I actually fell into the water, and I don't know which version I have recorded for the YouTube version, by the way.
Oh, okay.
But there is one time I fell in, and I'm just looking at an operating table, which might have been his death by the hands of these kidney stones that he also kind of speaks about a lot. So.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
And then there, and the whole like you were saying about how it could possibly be him reliving through, him living in purgatory and him reliving metaphorically his life. Just the whole caverns and all of the calcium buildups and all that kind of stuff within the caverns could have been a strong metaphor for his, for his kidney stones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. So I mean, you could take it either way, and again, like you said, Randy, that is kind of what I thought was so brilliant about this, is that, it reminded me, and not just because of the island, but like of Lost in a lot of ways.
I got the Lost vibe too. Actually.
In that you could, in that it just was a story, and at the end of it, it really was up to you. I'm not going to spoil Lost at all for anybody listening, so don't worry about that.
I think we've already spoiled Lost on this show.
No,
We chose not to.
We chose not to.
Oh, we did? Okay.
I will never spoil Lost for anybody, because I feel like if you haven't watched it yet, you owe it to yourself to sit down and crank through it.
Which I would say that ending is not. Were you going to say that ending is up for interpretation?
I think some people interpret it the way they wanted to, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I felt for me it was a very clear ending, but some people
Right.
interpreted it differently, and if that's what they want to take away from it, then I'm not going to have that argument anymore.
I guess,
It's not. It's just not worth it to me. And if people want to take what they want from it, that's fine. And that's how I feel about Dear Esther. It's there. The thread I mentioned on the Steam forums has some really compelling stuff in it. I would definitely recommend people check that out if you've played the game, or after you play the game, if you want to kind of delve into some different opinions and ideas about what's going on. Did you guys? How many times did you see the ghost? A bunch of times.
I was going to say, you told me about the ghost. I didn't see the ghost at all.
I saw 2 different ghosts.
Okay. Apparently there's
I saw-
6 in the game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a lot of
I'll
ghosts.
tell you the 2 that I saw, and then if you know of any more, feel free to add
Sure.
in.
Go ahead.
There was. Well, no, that's a lie. I think I saw 3 different ghosts, but I think 2 might have been the same one.
Okay.
There's a point when you're, and of course none of these I've captured in my video playthrough, so I don't think people are gonna even be able to see it. It was the second time that I actually saw the ghosts. But as you're walking up the hill and the cabin on top of the hill with the sun backlighting behind it and everything like that, the second time I played through it, I saw somebody skittering in front of it.
Okay.
And then when I got to the far side of the cabin, you can see into a cavern across a chasm, basically. And I saw a guy in a cloak and like a derby and like a lantern turn around and walk back into the cavern.
Nice. Okay, cool. I didn't see that one.
There was another ghost that this one you might actually be able to see in my YouTube playthrough, but there was somebody like near the very, very end who was actually standing on the top of the cliffs looking down at me as I'm walking along the beach. And I keep looking up at him or her, and it looks like a her, and I'm like, I want to see what that is. I want to see if that's actually a person when I get up there. When I get up to that point, that person thing is not there anymore.
Is this by the fence when you go up the ladder at the end?
Yes,
I have
so.
a perfect screenshot of them that I took.
Oh, really?
When I got up there, and I'll post it on eldergeek.com in the post for this episode of the podcast. So if you're listening, head over there and you can check it out, because I did manage to catch a pretty clear. You can't really make out much of.
You were like on a ghost adventure.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what adds to the whole like purgatory
cool.
theory as well.
Yeah,
because ghosts aren't really real.
Well, no, yeah, but you guys are saying purgatory, and for me, it was just someone who lost their mind. So for me, it was like, hallucinations.
Right.
So either way, I mean, but again, it's all open to what the first time I saw it, and I didn't take it as being a ghost when I first saw it. I was just like, holy shit, there's someone else on this island. Like, I was the part when you're down by the beach and the boat, the big ship is like washed up, like destroyed on the beach.
That was where I died. I tried to go on the boat.
Oh, really? I walked down there and I was kind of exploring around the boat, and I just looked up, and there was off in the distance I had seen another path that went out along this cliff, and I didn't go that way first. I decided to go down and check out the boat first, and I looked up, and standing on the edge of the cliff, I just saw what looked to be a figure, and I was like, huh, okay. So I backtracked very slowly, because you move very slowly in this game. I backtracked all the way back up to the road, and then it was really interesting how they did it, and I liked this a lot. Like, I had my eyes on him, and I wouldn't take my eyes off him, because I was like, I don't want to lose this guy. And then you get to a point when the only way you can go up, it cuts, you lose your line of sight on him. And then when you get around that corner, he's gone.
That's clever.
And that same thing happened at the end, the other time I saw him, which was when he was up by the fence. I managed to get a good shot of him, but then when I came up around the other way, he was no longer in your field of vision, so you couldn't get to him.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I thought that was a really nice touch that they put that in the game. I thought it was cool. It just added. I found this game to be very creepy, at least in the beginning.
Yeah.
I think when I came out on the other side of the cave, and it was nighttime, and the thing with the paper boats, I think at that point it stopped being creepy for me, and I think at that point I was just feeling really sympathetic towards this guy, and I just, prior to that, I was kind of having this vibe like I didn't know what was going to happen. Like, I was like, I'm waiting for some like weird shit like something really weird to happen.
Because you're totally alone. Like, you are 100% alone on this island.
Yeah.
There's zero. I don't even know if you actually see any seagulls at that point. Do you?
I don't remember any from that point on.
I don't think so.
No,
Man.
I only very early. There's that one part when you walk into the first building. That's part of the tower.
Yeah, and you see some bats kind of come out.
They come out of the toilet, and like for a second,
Yeah.
your camera. I'm like pantomiming this to my webcam, so no one listening is going to understand what I'm doing. But the camera kind of moves back for a second, like you lose control, and it's like your character reacting to something popping out in front of you. And that was kind of like the only I wouldn't even call it a scare moment, but I guess they could have gone down that path throughout the game, and they chose not to. So, I mean, I thought it was just... I just had a really great experience with this. I really did, and I'm definitely a total fan of these guys now. Like I said, I want to check out Amnesia just so I have a point of reference for playing Machine for Pigs.
Amnesia's totally different than this game.
Oh yeah, no, I don't. I know enough about it to know that it's not anything like this. But I just want to see when I go to play, because I'm definitely going to play Machine for Pigs. I'd like to know what happened.
You want to see what their stamp is on it.
Exactly, and everybody's gone to Rapture. I think that sounds great, because there are things about this that I agree. Like, I wish And I understand why none of this stuff is there, because it really is them controlling the pace of the game and kind of controlling the way you interact with it. I wish you could have picked stuff up. You know, I would see the chemistry books, and I wanted to like look at them and
I tried to pick things up
play with them,
times.
and I would have loved to have been able to jump, because
even if it was to like just discover more about the story and not necessarily for like a puzzle aspect, to just investigate a little bit more.
No, I agree. Like, yeah, exactly. You pick up a book and maybe there's somebody's name on it. There's like an entry in there or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Or like a picture would fall out or something.
Right.
You know, just a little bit more. I'll say that was my one complaint about the other game, and my other one complaint about the game was they really desperately need an auto walk. Like my left index finger was like, or my ring finger was just killing me. I ended up like just holding my pen on my keyboard as I was like walking forward.
I was thinking
put like a paperweight on there.
And
it needs an auto walk real bad.
You know, I think that's a big downside for the game. I mean, for me, like, yeah, you don't get to pick up anything and just kind of discover that sort of stuff on your own and look at stuff like. It really is almost like a tour, you know, like you're walking.
Or a museum guide.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly. Like you're at the museum and you hit the landmark and it's going to read whatever it says, you know, like, and that was what I guess I found very...
Not gamey about it?
No, gamey, but...
I'm just throwing with you.
But I guess that's why I just didn't really, like, buy it. You know,
okay.
That's the...
Yeah, I mean, the world was beautiful. I mean, it's
and
really...
the music, I don't know if we commented on the music, but the music is really awesome. And I did...
The music was really awesome. I felt bad that I didn't buy the soundtrack.
Well, it's on Spotify, and like I said, it's a bunch of other places you can check it out.
That's the thing, though. I don't know if I want to listen to it.
I listened to it a bit at work, just because I was trying to pick music for the episode.
I don't want to be sad.
Don't listen to it if you're already in a bad mood. I don't really suggest putting it on. Definitely put something else on instead. But no, it's great music, and it really, really works beautifully with the story. And the narrator, I mean, we haven't really said much about him. The vocal performance in this game, I mean, obviously it has to be a huge, huge part of it. And this guy, I did a little poking around for this guy. I didn't really find out much about him. Just an amazing job. I mean,
he nailed it.
The emotion in his voice towards the end, when he starts kind of losing it about Paul, talking about, you know, blame and all that stuff. You know, there was actually a time, and again, this is in that thread. There was a little while where I was starting to think that this guy was Paul, and that maybe he just had either he had a relationship with Esther, or he was just guilt ridden over the whole thing. I don't know, but because he talks about an incident where he went to meet with Paul and blah blah blah, and you know. It could have been just him having a conversation with himself, but again, that's all that stuff that's just kind of floating out there, and it's just. You can kind of draw whatever you want from it, and I think that's a really interesting thing about this game. I think it's probably its biggest strength. Aside from,
it's funny because I find that as we're sitting here talking about it and seeing what we all think or whatever, like I'm becoming more interested in it. Almost it's weird, you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
You know, like sometimes you watch a movie and you're like, well, that movie sucked, and then like. The first time I watched Blade Runner, which was a few years ago, I couldn't wait to watch Blade Runner. And when it was over, Dem and I just kind of looked at each other and like, yeah, it was kind of boring.
I remember when you had that reaction.
Yeah,
to it
and then I had like, and then like, and then like the revelation happened. And then we're like, you know, we were driving to go get dinner or something one night, and then you know, it was like a few days later, and we were just kind of like, yeah, how about that part in Blade Runner? And then like we just kept talking about it. I was like, yeah, I guess Blade Runner was pretty awesome. You know,
it's one of those games. It sticks with you, you know, and not a lot of games stick with you like that, kind of mentally and emotionally, which is really probably its strongest point for it. And I gotta say this about the game, and I can't say it strong enough, and I think that they need to be commended for this. I don't think any other game out there. Well, there are other games out there that try this, but I think few actually accomplish it. Actually try to tackle the theme throughout the entire game of love and loss and kind of... I'd almost call it regret and almost probably regret, I guess.
You
would be
don't
the best
think
way to put it.
God of War covers love and loss very good?
No, God of War is bloodlust. Now, the bloodlust is, caused by love and loss and all that kind of stuff, but that's not the main theme of it.
Yeah.
And somebody else, I was actually thinking about this before I was going to say it. People will come back and they'll be like, well, I was sad when Aerith died, or I was sad when Alex's dad died in Half-Life 2. But those are just moments in a larger game.
I didn't care when he died in Half-Life 2, by the way.
No?
Yeah, people are like, but like my nephew was talking. He's like, how about when he dies? Yeah, I was like, I don't really care.
It's sad, but this whole thing is focused on that one concept.
Right, the one. Right.
How about when Big Boss hugged Snake? I mean, come on, I got choked up when that happened.
I loved it when Snake hugged Otacon.
Oh yeah, there's the bro hug.
Yeah.
I like the dad-son clone hug. That was my favorite, my moment. No, and you know what? I wanted to, Phil, you said something really sorry. Phil,
totally deflating my moment.
No, Randy. No, I absolutely agree with what you just said. I'm sorry. I'm making light of it, but no,
I know.
I'm totally on board with you on that. And Phil, you said
doesn't
something
love
early
bloom on the battlefield.
What's that?
Doesn't love bloom on the battlefield.
All right. You said something early in the podcast, Phil, and I didn't want to interrupt you, but it was something along the lines of, and I'm super paraphrasing, and I'm going back a half an hour now, so
it's cool.
Something along the lines of, like, you feel like this is what people want games to be, or something like they want that.
I feel like that's why people are kind of giving it. Well,
I feel like I think that. But I think it is. I think it is that experience. I think that for someone who does want to see that, I think that this achieves that, really. And I feel like, I feel like there's still room for other types of games to kind of try to achieve that. But I think this does. I don't think it's right to say that it doesn't. Because it's just a discussion we've had right now.
Yeah, I guess as we're talking about it, maybe I guess I take it back slightly. I
don't mean to attack you, and I'm just saying. I didn't want to interrupt you at the time.
No, that's
I'm gonna come at you like a spider monkey.
If I say something like that, please, correct it there. But it's probably better that you didn't, because now we had a whole conversation about it. And
right? Yeah, I feel like this game achieves a level of art that that is what we want. I mean, this is what we want to see, and there's room for it. It's an hour long. I mean, you can play through this game.
I'm not saying there's no room for it. I didn't mean to say that. I just said maybe that. I was implying that maybe this is not that game, but I mean, if you believe that it is,
I think that it's a step in that direction for sure. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's the be all end all, but I think that it really it does quite a bit to move things in that direction, and I think people will maybe look at this and then apply ideas from this to other things, and as far as
they'll put a gun in the hand.
That's
that's how they apply.
Can somebody please make a Can somebody please make a Dear Esther mod where you have a gun?
I'm sure it'll happen, dude. I'm sure it'll happen. If it hasn't already, they'll have the portal gun in hand for it.
And then just, I don't know, use the Alex model from Half-Life 2 and put her in the game, and she'll be Esther, and then you just kill her over and over again in Dear Esther. Call of Esther.
but honestly, here's the thing. And the people that, and no offense, Phil, but the people that might be trying to attack this game, calling it pretentious, or just trying to have it be the game, or be the mature game that some people want to kind of happen. I see it more of as like this game is to like a Johnny Cash love song as like Call of Duty would be to, or Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 would be to like Through the Fire and Flames or something like that. You can respect both, you can like both, but they are just apples and oranges,
I agree with that.
And it doesn't make you less of a man for enjoying Johnny Cash love songs.
So what's everybody's final kind of verdict on the game? I mean, if you were going to give it some sort of a final,
worth buying, and I think we need more Dear Esthers. And I'm gonna add that as a sub note that I'm actually playing another game that is in the same vein as Dear Esther, but instead of like this whole loss of love and everything like that, this other game that I'm playing that I'll hopefully do a video review on actually really nails home the concept of a relationship breakup, and it fucked with my head for a day.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? Did I really need to play that? It was really good, but did I need to do that? No, I really can't.
Oh, all right.
All right.
I want to, but I really can't.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Phil?
I I guess worth buying for a sale price.
You pretentious pricks.
Well, I don't know. I guess $10. Like I was trying to break it down in my head actually as we were just recording, thinking about the price. I was like, well, I guess I spend about close to $10 to go to a movie that's probably a similar length. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that's a fair analogy, and I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean, it's all for me. I spent almost $4, and I got the game and the soundtrack, and that was during a sale. I feel like
you made out, man.
I feel like I totally got a deal on it. Maybe $10 might be a little too high. I could see somebody buying this for $10, playing it, and being like, "I just wasted $10."
Oh yeah.
And
I could see people.
And I don't know
what you're getting into. I mean, if you don't really,
there's no way to know what's going on, and I don't know that I could fault somebody for feeling that way.
And there's plenty of people that go to. How about the people that went to go see that movie Drive that were expecting the Fast and the Furious and they wanted their money back? Remember that? There was that.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's the exact same thing. But you know what? I don't think at the same time. I don't think people. Like we were saying, you got to know what you're getting into before you get it. I don't think that any YouTube walkthrough could really kind of have the same experience for you to actually playing it yourself.
I agree. Yeah, because I think a big part of it is moving yourself through that world and kind of looking at things, and even though you can't interact, you can explore, and there are little paths that diverge from the main path where you can kind of go and find, like there's the one you go down and you find like a suitcase that somebody threw off a cliff, and it's was it his? I don't know. And then you go in a cave and he's built this crazy shrine out of auto parts and things like that. I don't think that watching somebody else play it will necessarily give you that experience the same.
I don't know. Did he throw it off the cliff, or did he fall down the cliff and break his leg?
Oh,
because when I went there, he said something about how he hurt his leg or something like that.
Yeah, maybe that was it. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it's so much crazy stuff going on, and apparently, and this will tie into one of the comments that we got from the community. Apparently, and also you said this with the operating room table, you get different bits of dialogue randomly. So all three of us may have heard different things here and there at different parts. So that's could be a strength or it could be a weakness, and I guess we can segue that into the community feedback, and we'll see what
real quick, I mean, I didn't really say like a buy or not.
You didn't? I'm sorry.
No, I was debating price, for God's sake. If you are looking for a story and you're spending money on a story, then yeah, I would say check it out. But if you're like going in there expecting like a traditional video game, then
then you might be disappointed.
Yeah, buyer beware. So, that's all.
Yeah, I would echo that. So okay, let's go to community feedback. We got a few here. The first one is from Justin. I'm not going to leave your guys' last names out if you wrote in, just because I don't know if you want me saying your last name on a podcast. So this one was from Justin. He said, so I'm walking through this whole game, right? I'm walking across a beach, up a trail, through a cave. I'm walking all over the place. And then I reach a ladder, and for some arbitrary reason, this is where the game decides, hey, you know what? That's a really tall ladder. How about we skip the whole climbing part and go right to the top? Yes, good call, developers. After all that exhilarating walking around, I'd hate for you to ruin the pacing of your game with a boring ladder.
That was the feedback.
I love that. So yeah.
I wonder if he liked it. I wonder if.
So thank you, Justin.
He brings up a good point though. Like, yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah,
I guess kind of funny about the ladder too, because I was actually kind of sad when they took the control from me on the ladder.
Yeah, you want it.
I want to jump.
You want that the snake climbing down a hallway moment.
Yeah.
You just have to keep hitting the space bar over and over again to go up the ladder. A big space bar, a big quick time event of a space bar is flashing on the screen. Push.
The snake climbing up a ladder is like one of the best parts of that game, because you're making them climb up a ladder.
No, not the ladder. The hallway.
They're going down the hallway where he's being microwaved.
You just keep hitting triangle over and over.
Oh yeah, that part's great too. I
love that. That part was
Eater.
effective. It was effective for what it was trying to do.
I was thinking of the Snake Eater.
Oh, right.
When he's going up the ladder. And you're just climbing a ladder and music kicks in. You're like, all right, this is pretty sweet.
I got you. Yeah, no, I forgot about that.
They should have let us climb the ladder. Guy made a good point.
Thomas writes in and says, the game surprised me because I wasn't quite sure if I would enjoy it. But I did, and it felt like a very unique experience. I enjoyed being able to explore the island without waiting for an enemy to pop out or anything like that, and being told the story while I did so made it more enjoyable. I also downloaded the original mod for Half-Life 2, and while it was still enjoyable, the standalone version looked a lot better and made the island more interesting to explore. It was also longer. I also thought the voice actor did a great job. However, having said all that, I'm not sure it is a game I could play more than a few times, at least not in a short time period. I think most people complaining about it not being a game are probably people that don't play indie titles or anything that strays too far from their corridor shooters.
Yeah, Phil, you and your corridor shooters. And your Marios.
Andrew H. Left this comment for us on YouTube. He said, play an audiobook while walking around Half-Life 2 level without any NPCs or mobs. That's pretty much Dear Esther.
I mean, it is, though. It is.
While I am a supporter of games as art, even though the only games we have that people call art are visually impressive games like Limbo, I don't class Dear Esther as a game. Being able to walk around and press the WASD keys do not make a game.
I kind of lie with. I mean, I lie with that. I kind of disagree with that. But
Yeah, I disagree with that.
I think it's a game.
It might not be a.
I think
it might not be a.
Right. I think his description is right. I think play an audiobook while walking around.
I like that.
Right.
I thought that was pretty
but
funny.
I disagree that it's not. I think it's a game.
And our good friend Dante, of course, wrote in.
Dear Esther.
Yeah, that's how he wrote it out. Lots of E's. Dear Esther. Kinda butts. Mostly butts. Actually butts. You walk around and listen to a story. I don't have a problem with that, but that means to me that you're judged by your story, which I found to be a bit too vague. Now that's obviously the point. I get that. But there were still names thrown around that are never fleshed out as anything more than just names. That didn't actually bother me when I finished it until after I was done. I found out that some of the dialogue and some of the sites are randomized in your playthrough, which leads to things being fleshed out that you might not get the opportunity to see. I absolutely hate that concept. This is a story game. Tell your story. Besides that, the walk speed is way too slow, making exploring alternate paths a chore. Also, if you beat a game and don't get an achievement, did it really happen?
You know what's funny about his comments is that he's basically. I mean, I'm almost totally on board with him, but I don't mind different bits of story for different playthroughs because this is a very short game. It's an hour long, and if you really liked it and you want to know more, then by all means jump in there again and play it a little differently.
Yep.
You know, I don't mind that.
Yeah. Yeah, this isn't the kind of game that you want to like pick up and play like ooh, I just finished it, I want to do it again. Like I ended up having to play it a second time because I forgot to freaking save the game and I had to do it almost all a second time, so oh well.
Yeah. So that's it. Thank you guys very much for sending in your comments. As always, we really, really appreciate it. And if you guys...
Great comments, too.
Yeah, they were awesome. They were really, really good. And just, yeah.
They were good. It was better than the graphics were good.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. And I mean, this is a game. This game is hard to have that conversation because obviously the graphics are good. I mean, I think it looks amazing, and I could just sit and say that for a half an hour. Everyone would have turned it off 2 minutes ago into the show.
Right.
So I appreciate the comments. Really good stuff, guys. Thank you very much. So let's talk about what we're going to play next time here on the Game Club. I believe
this is very high art. What we're gonna play next time. This is like, I mean, this is
because
highbrow.
Dear Esther has whet my appetite, and I don't think I can go back to playing just other types of games. So,
well, get ready.
Double Dragon Neon that's correct?
That is
title?
correct.
Yes,
yeah,
and it is
correct title.
It is currently available on the PlayStation Network and the Xbox Live Arcade. So we'll be playing that.
Why are we playing Mark of the Ninja? What the shit? We're gonna be on Xbox Live Arcade anyway. Let's play a good game. I already played Double Dragon in 1986.
Oh man, you're gonna make Phil cry.
The troll.
Oh my god.
I wanted Phil to like reach through the internet and choke me right there.
Well, that's kind of
no, but I am actually really excited about this.
So right now, this game is available for free for PlayStation Plus subscribers, which is awesome. I'll be playing it for free, so all you guys can have fun spending your space points.
Points.
In all seriousness, if you have Xbox Live and you want to try it out, there's a free demo you can play. I don't know how much of the game you get to play, but it might be enough to form an opinion and leave us some feedback and send in your comments.
If it doesn't include Stage 2, it might not be enough of a demo, but it's all right.
I haven't played it yet, so I have no... I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, that was just when I started really like feeling the game. I was like, all right, cool.
So yeah, if you're on Xbox Live and you don't want to buy the game, what's it, 800 space points? So that's 10 bucks.
Points. Yeah, 10.
All right,
yeah,
so it's a $10 game, or if you have PlayStation Plus, it's free, or you can download the demo, give the game a try, leave us some feedback. We'll definitely read it on the show. And so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a nice change up. It's been a while since.
And I think there's a patch for online, so maybe we could.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nifty Swifty.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, with that being said, again, like we said, we love getting new listeners. So help us out if you are one of the people who are listening to this through the YouTube channel. You know, if you're not already subscribed to ElderGeek.com's channel, you absolutely should. There are great video reviews going up all the time. And then podcasts like this. Randy does Elder Speak throughout the week, which are kind of also podcasts which do deal with more topical things, and they're awesome. You should be subscribed and checking them all out. Head over to eldergeek.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We have a Twitch TV channel in which the guys are always streaming awesome games. You should check out. I know there's been a lot of Guild Wars 2 stuff going on, and that is a game you want to check out. If I could rope Phil into playing an MMO, there would absolutely be a Guild Wars 2 episode of the game. But yeah, that kind of flies in the face of the types of games we try to do for the show, so that won't happen. But regardless, the review is up for Guild Wars 2 on OuterGeek.com, so go check that out. Well, guys, I think that about does it.
All right, sounds good.
Everybody check out Double Dragon Neon. Send us your comments at eldergeekgameclub@gmail.com, or send them via Twitter at eldergeek.com, or post them on the website, Facebook. Post them in the YouTube comments like Andrew H. did, and I'll grab them and I'll read them on the next episode. So thank you guys very much for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you in 2 weeks for Double Dragon Neon. Phil, Randy?
In a fortnight.
In a fortnight we shall return. Henceforth. Thank you very much.